Welcome everyone. Today's webinar is on working with pricing for 4 different categories, 4 different groups that are in FrameReady. And those groups are MatDesign, molding, hardware, and fitting. And those are the 4 that we're going to be taking a look at. So let's go right into the price codes file, go through some of the information on the left-hand side of the screen, how you can use it, and then we're going to move over to the right-hand side of the screen and take a look at the pricing and how you can use that. So over here on the left-hand side of the screen, obviously you have the item number up here, but one of the things I want to warn you about is not using certain characters. I know that sometimes people want to have a tendency to want to put in the inch symbol in there. Don't do that. The other symbol that people may want to put in there is a pound symbol. So don't do that either. And the reason that I say that is because when you click on the Find button, which is an amazing, powerful tool in FrameReady, there's something called operators. And the double quotation mark symbol is one of the operators. The same thing as the number sign is one of the operators. So if you've used any of these, the asterisk, any of these symbols in your item number, when you go to look them up on the work order, they're not going to be found. Okay, so don't use any of those symbols underneath the operator tab. Okay, going back in here, there's also a manufacturer number. This manufacturer number is what will appear on the purchase order in the description area when you order this item. So that if we go to the purchase orders, you'll be able to see the item that is listed, okay, and then in the manufacturer number on the price codes file, that's where we're seeing the number that you're going to use for the manufacturer to let them know what it is that you want. And you can even add in extra information there to say how many are in the package, or that it's a regular or the heavy duty. And that will help the manufacturer to make sure that they're sending you the right information, the right product that you've asked for. And if you wanted to take all of this and drag it up and put it into the manufacturer item, you could. Otherwise, you could put the description down below to identify how many are in the package or any other information that you want. This information is just for you. It's for yourself, basically. Moving down to the thickness field, this will be added to the Rabbet Depth on the frame in the work order. So not necessarily onto the frame, but into the framing components used for the work order. So that in the work order itself, there's a space down here for Rabbet Depth, so that if you have entered in the Rabbet Depth on the frame, then what will happen is each of the products that are in there will add up. And if you do exceed the Rabbet Depth that you have available in the frame, a message will come up at the top of the screen. Now, some of the molding companies are great and they have added in the Rabbet Depth. If they haven't and you want to add it in, then you can do that yourself. Like I said, some of them have been great about adding those items in. There we go. Okay, so taking a look at this, the other thing that we have in here is the cost. Now, when you're looking at this cost, I know that on the work order, it calculates it, the frame by the footage. Or if you're looking at something such as mat board or mounting or glass, it'll say that you've used up either the full sheet, the half sheet, or the quarter sheet, and it'll apply that cost to that number in the bottom left corner of the work order screen. However, in these 4 groups that we have here, the MatDesign, hardware, extra, and fitting, it's going to take that whole number, whatever number you've entered in there, and that's going to be the total cost that's applied to that work order. So that number, if this item is selected, is what is going to be added into the cost of materials used down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So this was designed more so that it was going to be a whole item that you're just going to take it and put it in there. So when you're calculating out how much you want to have in that cost box, you might want to take a look over on the right-hand side and say, okay, I'm going to put the cost in there based on what is my average size. And in some cases, it might be a little bit over. In some cases, it might be a little bit under. But at least you've got something in there that's going to be a little bit more than the cost of 1 foot or 1 inch that you've got in this box. So that's just a tip on using that portion. We also have a field here for minimum cost. you can ignore that field. That field was designed for a specific supplier who had something that they wanted in there, and that supplier's gone out of business, but we still have the field there. Who knows, someday we will find a use for it. In the meantime, we're going to skip those 4 boxes because we're going to deal with them shortly. And then we have the supplier field. Now, a lot of times you'll notice that we have something in here called in-house. And a lot of the items that we have listed in the extras or the fitting or any of them will all say in-house. And in-house is used when a framing component is done in your shop as opposed to being sent out, or if it's supplied by a vendor. So something like a French line would be an in-house item. You can change these to say that this is ordered from a specific company rather than having in-house in there. And you can set that up as well as who it would be ordered from. You can set that up on the right-hand side of the screen from your drop-down list of all the suppliers that you work with. Moving over to the category, sometimes people like to use the categories because they can find things. So for example, if I decided that I wanted to find all of my V grooves that I have in here, then I would be able to find them by doing that. Of course, I could still type in V-groove and it would come up as well. Or if I had a different selection of decorative corners, then I could find it by doing the same thing by selecting decorative corners. So, and there's only one in there right now, but if there was a list, it would show up in the list view. So that's just another way of grouping items together that may not have the same heading, but you want to see them in a group or compare them. So you could use the category field to do that. And we'll just stay with this one. And then of course we have the group which identifies whether it's hardware, glass, etc. Now just a little trick while we're in here, and that is that if I have entered this into the hardware group and I've decided I really want it to go into the extra group, these 4 groups, the MatDesign, extra, fitting, and hardware are all interchangeable, so that all I would need to do on this is select that I want it to go into the extra group. And once I've done that, a little message appears at the top of the screen saying ignore incorrect layout. All I need to do is click on this title box in the top left, and now it's in the extra group instead of being in the hardware group. So if you do find something that wound up in the wrong group and you need to move it to another one, and it's one of the equal groups, such as these 4, then that makes it great. If I was trying to move this into Matboard, then there are different markup structures. So I may want to jot down some of these items. For instance, price per united inch is not available in Matboard. So those items will be lost when you move it over, or you want to erase that field perhaps before you move it over to that other group. But you can quickly and easily change the group, especially when it's an equal group. Other items to take a look at is up here at the top right hand corner. If I have changed the pricing on this to a different price, it's always a good idea to go up to the top right hand corner and say, when did you last update this price? Because this isn't an automatic vendor update. One of the 3 areas that we provide the pricing for vendor updates. So it's up to you to make sure that you change that date. And this is great because then when I'm in the list view and I'm looking at my hardware items, I know which items have been updated recently and which ones haven't been updated for a while. And then maybe I should go back and take a look at that pricing and make sure that it is up to date. So when you're looking at the form view or the list view, that date is an indicator telling you, have I updated this? Ignore the validation date. It's not something that you need in here to say whether it's valid or not. If it isn't valid, it's no longer available, go ahead and delete it. Unless you happen to have a lot of these in stock and you want to say that they're discontinued, and once you use it up, you're going to move to a different product. You could do that as well. The other one that it's not available on this layout because it's hardware, but in the MatDesign, there is a box here for a MatDesign sample, so that if you did have a sample of what a double V groove looks like, or what a triple V groove looks like, or an offset V groove, or any of the other things that you can do, then you can mark the sample box to say, I have a sample of this. So the 4 different elements that we're going to look at right now for pricing are set price, minimum price, code tables, and then the price per united inch. So those are the 4 groups that we're looking at. And we're going to pause here just for a moment, and we're going to take a poll.
I'm going to launch the poll now. And which pricing options Have you used set price, minimum price, code table, or price per united inch? Okay, I'm going to close the poll and I will share the results.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go back into FrameReady, and the first place we're going to start with is the set price. That is the one that everybody's using the most, which makes the most sense. So I'm going to go to the corners nickel here because this is a good example of where you can use the set price. So we have the cost of this set of 4 nickel corners, decorative corners that you can put onto a frame afterwards. And you could, over on the right-hand side, type in an arbitrary price that you want to have on here. But you may not be aware that you can also go in here and type in a formula as well. So you could say that I want this to be cost times 2, or I want this to be cost times 2.5. And then you could have that in there instead of just having that arbitrary price that you have. So that's a way to use the set price. And then if you come back to this area and you find out that the cost has changed and it's gone up in price, okay, let's say it has gone up a little bit, then the retail price is automatically going to change for you. So that gives you a great way to say, all I need to do is change this, and it'll automatically create the retail price rather than changing it here and then changing it here as well. But if you do decide to go with an arbitrary price, then that's fine as well. You can do that. And again, once you've changed that wholesale cost, make sure that you change the date up in the top right-hand corner. Okay, and as of course, with using the set price, you'll notice that the price is the same all the way down the right-hand side because it doesn't change based on the size of the order that you have. So it's going to be the same regardless. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the code table. And I'm going to go down to my example one here. So I have a code table applied to this. And the code tables, when you're using them, can be anything you want them to be, which is what I like about them. They give you a lot of flexibility. And in order to look at the code table, I have 2 choices. I can either go down here to code tables and it will take me there, or I can go over to the left-hand side. If you've typed a note in on your code table, so the code table's been given a heading, keep this short. It doesn't have to be too long. It could even be just fit 01, fit 02, fit 03, because down here is where you're going to give the description that tells you this is what it is, or this is where the pricing is from, how I've calculated out the pricing. And when you go to the code table on the left-hand side, this is the code name. And you can see I like to keep them fairly short. And then the description is the one that is over on the right-hand side, where you can see either how did I come up with this pricing, or what is it designed for, or I want to give it a name that it's always going to be used for this item. Down below that, you'll see the items that are actually using this table. One of the benefits about using the code table is that you can change the pricing easily. And if you click on the button to say adjust pricing by percentage, then you can say that I want to increase everything on this code table by 2%. Or 3%, 5%, 10%. And my recommendation is once you've clicked in the box, click outside the box to make sure that it's showing the correct amount that you want to see. And you can either increase the table or decrease the table, either one. And then when you click proceed, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, okay, it's increased everything by that percentage. So then I could, if I wanted to, continue on here up at the top and say that this has been increased by 2%, okay, and then I've changed the date on here so that it's going to be okay. The other way that you can use the code tables is if you were to use the XY, and some people like to use that for shipping if they've got a ship fee that they've got from a certain company and they're going to use the united inch, or if you have a joined fee that you wanted to create, so anything by a certain united inch is going to have a fee associated with that. And that's another way of doing it. The other option is to use the XY, so that you would have any 8 by 10 is going to be this specific price, and 9 by 12 will be this price. And then the minute it goes over 8 by 10, if it became 8.5 by 10, it's automatically going to go to the next size above that. And some items that you're pricing, that really works best for those items. And you can change anything manually as well. So if you decided that you wanted to change that from being 1004 to 1050, then you can simply go down the list and change all of the prices. And that's the same for any of them. If you decided that I didn't want that first price to be that amount, then you can manually change it. Or you can decide that I don't want anything smaller than 20 United Inches. And you can use the teal colored button on the right-hand side to erase those items and remove them. Now, once you've chosen your code table that you're going to use, and you've gone back to this screen, if I had selected one of the code tables that has the column entered in for the square inch, then I could also select the square down at the bottom here and say I want to price it by square inch, not by the United Inch. Okay, so there's choices on that as well. In the left-hand side under the code table, if you want to create a code table, if there's an XY, it's going to use the XY first. Okay, but if you have a column for United Inch or a column for square inch, you could say I want to price it by the square inch. And you can create a blank table if you want, and then simply put in the square inch numbers rather than the United Inch numbers. And in that case, if you have just filled in the square inch, make sure you come back to the code table and put that X in the box to price by square inch rather than United Inch. The next one that I want to take a look at is the price per UI. And we're going to take a look at a different record for this one. We want to go to our frame space. There we go. Okay, and then over on the right-hand side, what I have here is I have 24 cents per United. So that's going to calculate out the amount going around the frame. And in a little while, I'm going to show you some different tips on that. So if we go, actually, let's do that right now, since I'm on here. Over here on the right-hand side, under the image tab, what I've done is I've actually popped in an image of the frame space. And if I wanted to, you could pick any image you want. It gives you the information. But what I did was I went to the catalog and it said that the price for 100 feet is $68.63. So that's the price for 100 feet. And I broke that down so that it's 69 cents per foot, which means that it breaks down to be 0.0575 per inch. Now, if I wanted to, so that's 6 cents per inch. But if I was to come back to my extras here and I was to put in 6 cents, that's not going to give me the accurate amount because this is per United Inch, not per inch. And that is 6 cents per inch. So United Inch is going to get you halfway around the frame. In order for me to price that same amount out by United Inch, I need to double it. Once I've doubled it, now it's gone all the way around the frame. But remember, this is the 12 cents here is the cost of the item. So when I go back here, I can see that 6 cents is the cost. And if I want to price it by United Inch, I'm going to double that amount. And now it's 12 cents per United Inch. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that cost per United Inch, multiply it by whatever amount that I want, and then I'm going to put it into my price per United Inch field. And what I've done is I've spelled all of that out just on this record. You don't have to do that, but if you do, bonus to you, because when you come back to look at it and say the cost has gone up, how did I get to that price? This is a great way of knowing how you got there. So I'm going to go back to the dark blue tab for expert pricing, and in the price per United Inch field, I'm going to type in 24 cents. And that gives me my retail price that I want for this particular product, going all the way around. Now, one of the things that you can do on top of that is use combined pricing. And some of these fields will work with the other ones that are on the screen. So we want to take a look at how that happens. So if we go back to the econo space, and there it is, Okay, I'm going to move over to the right-hand side of the screen, and there is my 24 cents added in. But I decide that, you know what, it's not enough for the smaller sizes. I've got some labor involved in this. I want to add on a labor charge to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in under the set price $4. And you'll see that when I click over here, all the prices are going to go up by $4 evenly across the board. So this is using a combined formula of the price per United Inch and the set price. So that helps. Now, oh, sorry. Let me also go back to another option. So I could also, without that, say that I like the pricing here, but I don't want to go below $4 or I don't want to go below $5. So what I can do is go to the minimum price. And in the minimum price, I'm going to enter in $5, and now it will not go below $5 on the smaller sizes, saying that I still have a fair bit of time that I need to put into this, and I want to make sure my time is covered on working with this product. Another option that we have, we're going to take the minimum price out, and we're going to go back to the set price because I want to show you how you can play with your prices to get them in the range that you want them to be in. So if I was to say in this particular product, and let me go back to my image here. So my retail on this one was going to be 16 cents per United Inch. And let me put that back in. There we go. Yeah, because my example on the minimum price was going to be $4, so nothing goes below $4. And now over on the left-hand side, if I go to the set price, I could also add in a set price. And when I do that, it's added $5 all the way across the board. But now I want to take a look at the game here. So if I take that $5 out and I look at what the retail price is on the right-hand side, and I look at the 144 United Inch and I say, I want it to stay at that. I don't want it to go above that amount. Then what I want to do is I want to work with the set price and the price per United Inch to make sure that this amount stays the same, but all the smaller sizes come up in price. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to click in the field on the left and I'm going to change the price per United Inch to 5. Okay, the set price. I've added the set price of 5, but now I'm going to come back to the price per United Inch because when I look down here at the bottom, the 144 is now increased by $5 as it should have, and it's at 28, but I want it to come down some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the price per United Inch and I'm going to lower that amount to try and get it to match to the $23. And you can actually add extra amounts in there so 1.25. And now I've got my $23 here, the same as I did before. And that matches, and yet I've still raised the price on all the smaller sizes. So what happens is there's a teeter-totter effect that goes on. And I'm just going to show that to you in this little example that I have here. So if you have a low United Inch price, it doesn't increase very quickly. Okay, and what I've done then is I've added on the set price, and the set price basically raises everything up a little bit more. If I just decided to try and use a high United Inch price, and I didn't even use the set price at all, it's just going to make all the prices in the larger sizes increase more, and so they're going to be much more expensive. And the lower United Inch sizes are still going to be fairly inexpensive. So with a high United Inch, you can see that the teeter-totter really goes up quite a bit instead of this more level playing field that I've got. But then I can also use a higher United Inch price, and what I do then is I just raise the entire bar up, but I keep it fairly level so that the lower amount, smaller sizes go up in price. Okay, and the larger ones go up as well, but they don't go up so much so that they're out of range. So that's a way that you can do this in here as well. So now if I was deciding that I wanted to match, let me show you, taking a look at the graph here. This is where we started out with the price per United Inch, and that's the 16 cents per United Inch, that blue line. So that's the United Inch only price. But instead, I decided, trying to keep this amount the same, I wanted to add on that $5 per set for the set price. And so it's raised the smaller sizes. So they have come up in price, but my largest size has not increased at all. Otherwise, if I just added the set price on by itself, you'd see that blue line go up entirely all the way across. It would raise up evenly the $5. So this is what I've done so far. Now we're going to go back and take another look at this and say, if I didn't want, let's go back to the original amount that we had in there, 16 cents per United Inch, no set price at all. And now I say that I want to match it at 100 United Inches so that this 16 will stay the same, okay? And all these prices will go up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in that $5 set price, but now I need to lower the price per United Inch. And sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, playing with the numbers to find out where do you want it to be in order to find the right amount and get it to match. So there I am at $16 for the 100 United Inch price. Okay, so that matches the same as it was before. These prices have gone up, and then this one has gone down a little bit. So if I take a look at a new chart now, I can see that the blue line is the one that was 16 cents per United Inch, and it gets to the point where it goes up to the higher price. The green line is the one where I had $5 plus the 0.125, which raised the amount on the smaller sizes, but still maintained the benchmark that I had. But now on the orange line, where I changed the benchmark to say I wanted it to match at the 100 United Inch mark. And then all I did was put that same $5 in there to raise the amount using the set price. But then with a lower price per United Inch, this amount came down a little bit. So in that case, this works out great for you if you're thinking that I don't want that amount to be up so much higher, and I'm leveling that teeter-totter effect. However, if you, as I said, if you wanted it to increase and be straight across the board higher because you want it to be a higher price, then just add on the set price. Don't worry about changing the United Inch amount. And in that case, what would happen is we would just leave that at the 16 and then strictly just add on the set price per United Inch. And you can see that instead of $23, it's at the $28. So that's using that combination of the pricing together so that you can either use just the set price, or you could add still, you can combine this as well, add on a minimum price and say, I don't want it to go below $9. And when I add in that minimum price, now it's not going to go below $9. And in addition to that, I have my set price added in there as well, and my price per United Inch. So I'm using 3 of those fields together in a combination to get the best value for me on my pricing. There. We're going to take a break just for a moment, and Chrissy, there's another poll that you have that we can take a look at.
Yes, so the next poll that we have is, which groups do you have set up as default to autofill on your work order?
Excellent. Yeah, there are a number of fields that you can use as defaults on every work order when it is created.
And I will share the results.
Great. Yeah, an extra, okay, because we're going to show you one of the things where you may want to use the extra field in your setup, quite possibly. Good. Okay. Thanks, Chrissy. Super. So I'm going to go back to the main menu for a moment just to show you those options here, and going into more options, the different things that you can have under the work order default, so that every time you create a work order, you could have something that's set up in each of these fields. There's also one in the extra that we could use as well, and we're going to take a look at it in just a moment. But if there are standard items that you use, it's always a good idea to have those things fill in automatically for you. And then when you get to the work order, you can remove it if you don't need it. The problem with leaving everything blank sometimes on the work order screen is that you wonder afterwards, did I forget to add that in? or do they not need it? So, or it's the standard item, so everybody knows that it is the standard item, but they may not. And then you get used to seeing the field blank, and then when you are choosing something else on your list, say wall buddies or Z-bar or cleat mounts or something else, then it's easy to overlook it because you're used to seeing the field blank without the information. So great idea to have those things auto-enter. So I want to take a look at the MatDesign one first. So we're going to go to my list here, and then in the list, one of the things I forgot to mention was about arranging the list and how the list could be arranged. So when it comes up on your work order screen, if you click the item button on the left-hand side, you'll see how it's going to appear on the screen. And it's a great idea to have light that they can be sorted and grouped together. So if I had said single V group, double V group, triple V group, they would all be listed in random spots throughout the list. The same thing going through my selection of hardware items. Nice to have these grouped together rather than having the 5x7 in the front. And you'll also notice I put a 0.5 so that the smaller sizes appear above the larger size. Another thing that people like to do is they want certain items to be at the top of the list. So one of the tricks for doing that is that you could put in a number. And if you click on the item field now, those numbered items come up to the top of the list. Everything else is listed below. So items you don't use on a regular basis may be further down, but you could have them using the numbers at the top. Just remember that if you have in the past always had it say conservation clear and you duplicate a work order, it's going to tell you that conservation clear cannot be found because you've changed the ID number for it. It now says 2 space conservation clear. And in any computer, that's a whole new item. So just take note that, yep, that's fine. It'll be all right. You need to reselect the item and it will be okay. All right, so going back to MatDesign list here, and I want to take a look at the French line. And one of the things about the French line that I want to point out is on the work order screen, so we've got a set price in here and a price per united inch. So it does increase in price as the mat being used gets larger. But I wasn't sure if everybody's aware that on the work order screen, if you have selected the French line on here, and you know what, let me go to the very last work order, find all, last record, there we go. So if I have selected the French line on here, there is a space over to the right-hand side, this gray rectangle, that I can identify where the French line is to be placed. Now, in this listing here, if you hold your mouse over top of the gray rectangle, you'll see a tooltip appear that says the placement of the MatDesign is from the outside edge. If everybody in your shop says no, it's from the inside edge, then that's where it is. Everybody's in agreement with that. Or if it's going to be from the outside edge, then that's it. Just as long as it's standard for everyone and everyone does the same. Now, clicking on that list, you're going to see in this list that I can select maybe 2 3/4 from the outside edge. Or 1 3/4. I'll make that a 3-inch mat or 3.5 or something, a little larger. But the key thing on this is that it's easy to read where it says 2 3/4. And that's the reason for that is because when I edited this, I put in a double space between the whole number and the fraction. And the same thing on the lists over on the right-hand side. Because if I was to select something that doesn't have the double space, you can see how it makes it a little bit more difficult to read that number than the one with the double space. And if you want to go ahead and just make that change, click on the edit list down here at the bottom. And then when you are going through your list of items, it's just a matter of adding in another extra space onto that to make it easier for your eye to read. And then once that's done, when you come back to the list, you can see the items that are easier to read and the ones that are a little bit more crunched together. Okay. So that's just a tip that you can use to make sure that people are selecting the right numbers and making it easier for them to see them. Let's go back to the price codes file. We're going to take a look at hardware, and I want to go to that cleat hanger that we had on here before. And once again, you can call it whatever it is. If you want to use the brand name in there, you can do that as well. Per inch. So, and it says so right on the record, so that if this is a price per inch that I'm charging for this product, when I enter it onto the work order, what I would want to do then is make sure that when I'm selecting the hardware item, and I'm going to say that this is the cleat hanger, okay, per inch, let's go to the regular one, then I'm going to say how many inches do I need. And if I've decided that I'm going to do 12 inches on it, or if I've decided that I'm going to do 15 inches on it, but it's the quantity box that I'm going to use that identifies the retail price for the item, because I've identified that this is a price per united inch. So it's just a matter of making it accurate to the retail price. And it's already identified in the listing there that it needs to be a price per inch. If you don't fill it in, it assumes that it's the price of one. So this is just a way to make sure that, you know, price per inch, and that they do need to enter in something into that field in order to price it out correctly. Going to the extra field. This is one of those tips that somebody asked me and said that they wanted to do, and they wanted to put in a shop rate. So going down here, here's the shop rate. And what it was an overhead charge. And this is one of the things they set up as an extra. So it's on every single order, and they calculated out, and I'm going to go over to the image over here, and I just pulled this up off the internet. And it's from this website, Plans, Art Sales, Custom Framing Business Plan, Financial Plan. I don't know how good it is or how accurate it is, but I was just looking for something that would give me a number to play with. And basically it was looking at the expenses for 1 year and then the average number of pieces that they had. And they used that to come up with a rate per piece, knowing that I need to cover this amount per piece that goes out of my shop to cover the overhead for my business. So the numbers that I picked was the total operating expenses, added that in, divided by the number of orders taken per the year, and then put in the dollar amount. And you know, the number could vary, and I decided that instead of being open 365 days a year, it's open, you know, 261 days, and the total number of orders per day were 20 per day. So multiply that together, the 20 plus 261, to get this number, and then that's how we got the 5188. And then once that's in there, every time that a work order is created, it would put in that shop rate as the amount that's going in. If, of course, if you need to add something else into the extra field and it's already been used, all you need to do is click on the underlined word extra, and then you can go ahead and put in the other item that you wanted to use as well. So, and of course, the arrow on the left is going to indicate that there are 2 items in that field, not just the 1 item. So that was one of the little things I thought, well, that's a neat idea. It's something that we can certainly share, and if it's something that you want to use or want to go ahead and use, you can. Okay, if you're wondering about how many pieces you actually do per year, there is a great report for that. If you go to the main menu and you click on reports and you say, based on all the ones that were created for the year, and now I want to go in and just type in the year 2020. How many orders did I do in the year 2020? And then click proceed, and it's going to give you a report. There are 2 numbers at the bottom of this report. You're going to look at total number of pieces, total number of orders. Okay, and it's the pieces over here, because somebody could have had 1 order for you and they were going to be doing 10 pieces on that 1 order. So this is the total number of pieces. This is the total number of work orders. Now, I would be looking at the one of these numbers, but not the other one, because on the work order, when you enter it in and you say that you have 10 pieces, that number is going to be multiplied. So this number is based on pieces on that shop rate. So let's go back, find all, last record. There we go. So this shop rate is based on pieces, because if I have, and I'm going to take that out just so you can see it, if I have 1 piece, then that's the amount. But if I have 10 pieces, then it's obviously going to change the amount here because it's taken that amount, multiplied it by 10, and added it into the total amount. So when you're looking at that report, look at the number of pieces that you do, not necessarily the number of work orders, because they could have a multiple on there rather than just being the number one. Okay, let's go back and take a look at the comparison screen as well. So when I'm in the extras, and when I click on extras, it automatically finds all of the items that are in my group for extra. When I click on list view, I can see them all in a list view. But I may decide that I want to compare some of the pricing on these items. In order to do that, what I want to do is I want to click on any one of these items or click on form view at the top of the screen. It doesn't matter which one, because that's going to give me the price comparison screen. And now when I'm looking at them in this list view, I can see, and if you may need to click the reset button if it hasn't been recalculated. But then I can see and compare the prices to say, have I got the same prices and things? Have I changed prices? And this is a nice, fast, quick glance at the items that are in the list and how much am I charging and why is there a difference on some of these items? Is it because they cost a different amount? But if they do cost the same amount, then do I need to change that? The other thing is, if you don't have a cost in there, the cost is not going to appear in your listing on the cost of goods screen on the work order. So when I click on done, another way to check that is in this screen as well. If you don't have something in that box, then it's not going to show up in the cost of goods. So we want to go back now to the fitting screen. Let's take a look at fitting over here on the right-hand side. And these are your labor charges. The fitting field, the group of fitting, is the only one in the program that can be labeled as non-taxable or not discounted. And those are done in two different places. One is that it can be done on the work order screen. So in the group underneath the underlined word fitting, you have the ability to say that this item is going to be non-taxable. Labor is non-taxable, so anything that appears in here under the fitting is going to be non-taxable. Okay, or if we go here to the post-fitting charges with no discount, that means that everything else on this work order can be discounted. Okay, there's 20% off, but the labor that you're doing, your time, is not going to be discounted. Only the materials are going to be discounted. And if you choose to make the labor not discounted, it will appear separately on the work order and it will also appear separately on their invoice. In order for the math to be accurate, we have to say, no, this wasn't discounted. It's the same amount. If you decide that you want to set that up to be a standard item, you can go back to the main menu and under the Options tab, we're going to click on More Options, and then over here on the right-hand side under Invoice Posting, this is where you have the ability to choose to say, yes, the labor in my state is non-taxable, so I put a check mark in there, or on any order, I do not want to have the labor, my time, discounted. I'm willing to discount the materials, but I'm not willing to discount my time, and I'm okay with the fact that it shows up separately on the invoice. So those are the options that you have there, right? So that's everything that I have for you today, and we've used up our time, I see. And Chrissy, are there any questions that people have?
We did have a question in the hardware when you were adding the double spaces. Will that show up on the report after, or the invoice?
When I'm adding the double spaces in the hardware.
Yeah, you know, when you were making it look more, so it wasn't so crammed together?
Oh, right, yes. So when you print, and that's absolutely right, yes. So if I was to print this out and we have the double spaces in there, when you print it out on the work order, it should actually show with those double spaces as well. So there's my double spacing in there. Oh, there it is up here. Yeah, French line. So 1 double space 5/16. Okay, so yes, it will appear on the printed work order with the double spaces, making it easier for everyone to be able to read those numbers and not become, you know, have that possibility of an error occurring. Yes, excellent. But thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, and we hope to see you again soon.
Bye, everybody.